You know, I mean, this room is filled with some very high achievers, and obviously what I wanted to derive from you guys is just some insights, some how-tos, some what it is you do to just give them, you know, perspective and stuff. And I carefully chose some questions, and this one is, you're both masters at achieving what most people consider impossible. And I mean, really, like what you guys do, most people consider absolutely impossible. So when something is considered quote unquote impossible, how do you reframe it so it becomes possible in your mind, and how much of that is mindset?
Well, I think impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. When someone tells me it's impossible, I always just look at them. Anybody around me knows that they can't do that. So that's part of it. But if they didn't know me, it's your opinion. And they'll say, no, science shows. And I say, yeah, and how many times has science showed something's impossible? Now science shows it's possible. Things are impossible until somebody does it. And so I find that, you know, most of you are business people. You look at businesses and what does it take to make a business grow? It's not impossible to make a business grow. A business has been shrinking for a long time, or it's been stuck. The real problem is always, the chokehold is always the psychology and the skills of the leader, always. And 80% of that is psychology and 20% is the mechanics. Like if you don't know how to read your financials and you're trying to fly the plane of your company, I mean, come on, you know, if all you do is go down and you look at profit and loss and you see what it is and you have a beer, either way, you either celebrate or you get depressed, you know, something, you know, you're gonna be in trouble, right? But if you have the skill sets, that's one thing, but you can get any skill set if you have the psychology. And anytime a business is not growing, it is not because it's impossible. It's because they aren't innovating, and they're not innovating because they're believing it's impossible. I mean, if we all know what does it take to transform, and obviously help people, it takes 3 things to create a breakthrough in anything, in your personal life, in your business, anywhere. You need a strategy. But that's not the first place you should look, and it's the first place all of us look. Me too. It's our inherent thing. You wanna lose weight? Well, how do I do it? I wanna grow my business? How do I do it? It's instinctive. We've been trained to think that way. But the problem is the how-to is usually not that complex. I mean, come on. 70% of America is what, 75% of America now is overweight? Is that because it's so complex how to be fit and strong, right? You know, only the 1% know the answers. They hide it from you. You have to work your ass off to not hear what it takes, right? And so, you know, I remember I went to a TED Med Center and I watched about 12 doctors, one after another, get up and do these stories about how we could just get patients to take their medications and try to figure out the whole thing. And I was just looking and going, you're all talking about strategy and you've forgotten psychology. Because strategy is wonderful. I'm a strategist. Spent my whole life figuring out strategies. As we both know, a strategy could save you a decade, right? In business, strategy could save you, you know, it could make the difference between success and failure. But most people have strategies available, or they could get them, or you could create them. But the problem is you got a story. And your story is why it isn't working. And the story is, I've tried what? What? Everything. If you tried everything, you'd be fit, right? If you tried everything, you'd be profitable. If you tried everything, you'd be there. But people say it, you know, I'm big boned. That's what I used to say. I'm still big boned, but I'm 38 pounds lighter than I was 25 years ago, and I've never gained it back, right? When I was big boned, that was my story. All the good ones are gone. That's why I'm not in a relationship. Or they're gay and I'm not, or I'm gay and they are, or whatever the story is. There's always a story. And what I tell people is, you know, if you can just divorce the story of your limitation and marry the truth of your unlimited capacity, then the whole game changes. But it's hard to do that because when you're in your story, you don't even realize it. So you need a third piece for a breakthrough, and that's really what my life's about, which is changing people's states. Because in a different state, we're different people. You know, can mean people be nice? Yes or no? Yes or no? Of course they are, when they're in a nice state. Can nice people be mean? Sure, they get a mean state. So really learning to train yourself to be in an ideal state where the best of you comes out for yourself, for your family, for your mission, for your world, for your coworkers. To me, that's one of the most important decisions in life to make. If you ask me, out of all the people I've met, all the things I've seen, you know, what creates a magnificent life? You know, everybody has goals and dreams that are different. Some people want, you know, picket fence. Some want to make $1 billion. Some, you know, want to have this huge breakthrough in technology. Some people want to write poetry. Whatever is right for people is what I want them for themselves. I don't want them to be like me or you or anybody else. I want them to have their dream. But to have it, you need 2 skills. You need, number 1, to have the science of achievement. It's a science. You have to know how to take your vision and make it real. And most of the people in this room have already figured that out. And this guy sure as hell has, and you have, and I have. So most of us know, and we can all refine our skills in that area. But we know how to take what we dream about, make it real, and if you don't, you can learn from somebody who does. You know, the simplest thing is get crazily hungry for something. We all know when you get so hungry, so desirous, your brain starts coming up with answers. And then it's massive action, but effective execution, which is all modeling, which is, I assume, what this is about. Find the best example, compress the time. Let someone else take 20 years to figure it out. You do it in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever the period is. We should all be standing on the shoulders of the people around us instead of reinventing the wheel. And then there's this thing called grace. You know, if you work your ass off, you're totally focused, you're trying to serve something larger than yourself, and you really are executing what works, you need a little grace. You might want to call it luck if you prefer, God, the universe, but it's there. And we can all achieve. But I think the more important skill, if you ask me, is to have an extraordinary life is the art of fulfillment. And it's an art, it's not a science. Because there's a science to making money. I don't care who you are, if you do certain things, you're gonna have too much financial stress. You do other things, you're gonna have an abundance. There's a science. There's a science to your body. Everyone here is biochemically different genome, but there's certain fundamental patterns that if you and I follow them, you're gonna have tons of energy, you're gonna feel good. If you break them, you're gonna pay the price and have low energy or disease. But fulfillment is an art. What's gonna fulfill you is different than the other person next to you. You're not gonna learn that from anybody else. And you gotta find it, because success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I get those phone calls all the time for the multi-billionaire entrepreneur or politician or business person or a person just won their Academy Award and they're depressed and they can't tell anybody because they got all their goals, but they're not fulfilled because they really don't have that sense of meaning in their life. They went for something and they got it, they achieved. And if you doubt this, what I'm saying is relevant to you or us or anyone, just think about a month ago, we lost what I consider to be a national treasure, Robin Williams. How many of you loved Robin Williams? Look around the room, keep your hands up, look. And most of you didn't know him, almost every. And where you go in the world, people love Robin Williams. By the way, was he great at achievement? Oh my God, that guy, he said he wanted to become a great comedian, he did that. I want to make the world laugh, he did. I want to make my own TV show, he did. I want to have the #1 TV show, he did it. I want to make movies, he did it. I want an Academy Award for not being funny. Not his skill set, drama, and he did it. I want a beautiful family, and he did it. And then he hung himself. Make everybody happy but yourself. Not a good plan. So if I had a gift to give you, it would be maybe make a different decision. And the decision is that no matter what happens in your life, you're gonna live in a beautiful state. A beautiful state. And that could be happy, that could be grateful, that could be being generous. Those are all beautiful states, aren't they? It could be curious. It could be fun. It could be playful. You're not limited to one state, but it's different than suffering. And most people's suffering, and all suffering I've ever seen, I've traveled to 100 countries. I've dealt with presidents of countries and, you know, presidents of businesses, CEOs. I've dealt with people in prison. I've dealt with, you name it, average people. Suffering always comes because you're obsessed about something related to you. You can only be depressed if you're focusing on yourself. You say, no, I'm depressed because it's my kids and they're not doing well. No, you're depressed because you feel you failed your kids. It's about you. It's about how you think what you should have done or shouldn't have done or what someone did to you or didn't do to you in the past or the future, which don't even exist. So I have a simple goal. My goal is help people make a decision that says, I don't know what's gonna happen. You might get a divorce, even though you don't think so. You might find a member of your family with cancer. You might have your house get burned down or have a tornado go by, and if you live in the same place, it happens every 2 years and you move back, we should talk, but you know, some people seem to do that for some reason. You can't control those things. I can't control those things. I don't want those to happen to you or anybody I love or anybody who's even a stranger to me, but they're going to happen. True? Not positive thinking bullshit, just the truth. So if that's gonna happen, I say make a decision now that says, I'm gonna live in a beautiful state and I'm gonna find beauty in whatever life brings me. Because life is too short not to. I see a little buddy over here named Shawn. I remember when I got a phone call from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, say, have a young man that's about to die and he wants to meet you. And he came to a seminar and then I took him out afterwards. And at the time, if he coughed too much, they said, you can't grab him. I said, I want to take him across the fire. They said, take him across the fire? I said, if he coughs, he'll break a rib. I said, I'll be really gentle. We're gonna do this thing. And he did it. And then afterwards I sat down with him and I said, man, I don't have the answers, but if your body is, you're just coughing and it's gonna make you break a rib, your body is so acid. I said, you should get alkaline. Let me put you together with a doctor. How many years ago was that?
I'm 36. I was 19.
You were 19 and you're now 36. I like seeing you here, so brother. Give him a hand. He's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man. But Shawn, what made me think of Shawn is Shawn lives in a beautiful state. He could be bitching and complaining and whining, and what does he do? His whole life is not about himself. That's why he's so happy. He doesn't live in himself. He lives outside himself, serving things he loves. He still takes care of himself, and he's funny as shit, and he likes to seduce women and things like I can't talk about right now, but... Oh, you're married now? Okay, well, good. I'm glad to hear it's about frickin' time, all right, Shawn? It's good to see you grew up. Now, the bottom line is this young man over here who now is at a different stage of life, he's always been who he is. I think he lived because he lived for more than himself. I'm sure he felt pain, but we only suffer when we think about what's being done to us or what people are going to think or what they should have done or hadn't done, and you can't control that stuff anyway. I mean, why be pissed when people are going to do it? Are people going to be mean? Yes or no? Are people going to be unfair and unjust? Yes or no? Are people going to be beautiful and generous? Yes or no? You just never know when that shit's going to happen, so might as well enjoy yourself along the way. And I suggest today, if you want, if there's any gift I came by to give you, it's to tell you what you know already, but get you to make a decision about it. To actually decide, I'm going to live in a beautiful state. That doesn't mean I don't get angry or pissed or tired. Or, you know, suffering arises and you end it the moment you go, holy shit, I'm thinking about me. If I do this, I'll always be suffering. The human mind is always looking for what's wrong. The human brain is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. Happiness, that's your job. And you only get it if you draw a line in the sand. That's how it's going to be. And I can tell you the few people that do it, I know a few people that have done it, they have magnificent lives. And when you're in a beautiful state, the best ideas come in. This man lives in a beautiful state. Every time I talk to him, I love seeing Peter. Peter's just always on fire about something. But notice, you know, he's doing unbelievably well. There's nothing wrong with that. But almost everything he's doing is about more than himself, and so that's why he feels so alive. He's not suffering an ounce. He's in ecstasy. He's not lucky. He's living life a certain way. It's a beautiful way. I'm honored to have you as a friend.
Thank you, brother.
Wow. Now say something better than that. I mean, like, let's really see how good you are here, man.
Oh, God, yeah, this guy goes through my mind. I'm like, there's no way to follow this.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
What the hell was the question?
He doesn't have to say anything. Truthfully, he doesn't have to say anything. He lives this shit. I'm just telling you what he lives. He really does. I'm not saying that to blow smoke. This guy lives it. If you meet this man, how many met this man before and he was in a wonderful state? Let me show your hands. I don't think I've ever seen him not in a wonderful state. I've seen him have some painful, challenging places, but he doesn't stay there. And look what he's able to create because of it. He is a 9-year-old boy who's on fire. He's on fire to light the world on fire with what's possible. It's a beautiful thing. I honor you.
So the contribution I'll make, thank you, Tony. And I think it was about impossible and mindset and so forth, is the reality is there is very little that's impossible, period. It just is. And your mindset, as soon as you say something is impossible, then you shut down every possibility for solving it, right? And we all know this. And the challenge is that it's really hard not to be in that state because we get thrown stuff all the time. And what I want to share with you is an experiment, which is to say, okay, not only how do I make it possible, but how do I actually go 10 times bigger? And you've heard me speak about this, you know, moonshot thinking, bold thinking, whatever the case, whatever terminology you want to give it. And most of us in our life are trying to make a 10% improvement. And we know this. This is, I'm trying to increase my revenues by 10%. I'm trying to reduce my sales by 10%, save 10% more of the, you know, the lands out there, whatever it truly is. We all have this sort of beaten into us by life and by the rest of the universe that you can make these small incremental improvements. But the fact of the matter is that there are those in the world that go 10 times bigger. And every one of us can be that. And as soon as you say, I want I want to not only solve this thing, but go 10 times bigger in my work, in the things. And can I say this? In something that you're truly passionate about, not just about earning a little bit more money. I mean, it really should be in something that you care truly about, that is bigger than yourself, that is impacting the world. As soon as you try and go 10 times bigger, 3 magical things happen. Number one, even if you have no idea how to solve it, no idea how to get there, you'll be amazed at what you come up with. And what's interesting is our legacy, our past, anchors us to where we are today. And you have to let go of that. You truly have to let go of all the stuff in your past, what you thought you'd done, all of the, the infrastructure that you've built to let yourself go. When Elon Musk built Tesla, the reason Tesla was such an amazingly better car is he didn't have 100 years of Detroit to hold on to. He started with a clean sheet of paper and imagine what could be. The second thing is when you try and go 10 times bigger versus 10% bigger, it's 100 times the value proposition. And it's never 100 times more expensive or 100 times harder. And so you get this increased capability. And then the third thing is when you try and go 10 times bigger, to solve a problem 10 times bigger, you've got to reinvent stuff. You have to actually go and figure out, okay, I have no idea how I'm going to solve that, but you're going to start to reinvent things. So when Eric and I were working on, asteroid mining, we had to reinvent. We had to have, so much computational power on board the spacecraft. We had to come up with brand new sensors and hyperspectral and midwave IR that didn't exist, had never been licensed, because these spacecraft were going to be operating at 200 million miles away, and that forced us to come up with new kinds of capabilities that were not currently possible. And you'll be amazed what those capabilities that you create in your business, in your life, enable you to do. And so there's this massive benefit, this payoff, this dividend that comes from expanding your mind and not being anchored to the past. And so I think that there are very few things that are truly impossible. I think that impossible is a state of mind. And I'll say one other thing. The people in your life are part of that anchoring. And so how do you anchor yourself with a new set of people? Right? I'm looking at my dear friend Naveen Jain here, with whom we've opened up X Prize India and are really working on solving women's and girls' issues in India and providing abundant drinking water in India. I mean, so how do you surround yourself with amazing people who live in the state of anything is possible? I'm blessed at X Prize, at Singularity University, at HLI and PRI. I live that constantly. And so how do you do that? Where are you doing that? What is your nothing is impossible community?
Here.
Yeah, it is here. It is truly here. And so that's really critically important, because once you get into that mindset, then you start freeing yourself from the bullshit that you tell yourself and people tell you. Because we are living in a world where constant, amazing miracles happen. The other thing, because I'll put my commercial into this, stop watching the news. Stop watching the news. You could not pay me enough to have the Crisis News Network or the Constantly Negative News Network, whatever you call CNN, pollute my mind. Really, I have social networks, I have Google filters and so forth. I was just telling Ariana about this, and hopefully she'll do this. I want on the front page of Huffington Post, I said, I want a slider where I can control the percentage of positive news stories. Right? How would you like that instead of, because right now it's 10 to 1 negative to positive, and that pollutes your mind. And we heard an amazing presentation this morning. I apologize. Who was the gentleman who was talking about that? Talking about a few minutes of negative news in the morning. Thank you. Yeah, Shawn. It's true. It's like, why would you possibly invest in the world and in the life and all these things if the world is falling apart? If the Crisis News Network is like showing you airplane accident, airplane accident, airplane accident, what problem is that the news networks never tell you, there was no school shooting today at this school, or this airplane actually flew LA to New York and actually made it and everybody survived. That's not news. And so we get this disproportionate view, and so our minds are constantly, the mindset you have when you watch the negative news is awful. Not that it's not going on. It's not that there's this amazing hardship and lives that are on the precipice of hunger and death around the world. But the world is getting better at an extraordinary rate, and you can make a difference in it. And there is no problem. There is no problem we cannot solve, period. End of statement.
So, Craig, I've really crafted some questions here to really get into some good stuff. So, you're the discipline and productivity guy, but surprisingly, before you even start scheduling your day, you say there are much more important things to think about. So tell us about the 3 V's every entrepreneur needs to know before moving on with their day.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to start with your values first. So imagine like you have a time pyramid. And so at the top is where you would have actually what you're going to do in the day. But at the bottom, you're going to put in your values, because your values are going to drive every single thing that you do. If your values are family first, it's going to drive how you start your day, what you do over the course of the day, how much you work. So you had that example yesterday, Joe, of the guy who was thinking about opening his 57th hardware store,
right,
and he was overweight and not spending any time with his family. Listen, you can make him super productive at opening hardware stores, but it's the wrong thing. And a lot of people in entrepreneurship become super productive at the wrong thing. And so I ask one question of all the coaching clients that I work with, which is, in the next 20 years, what do you want to accomplish in the 4 top values in your life? Your family, your health, your wealth, and experiences. That's where everything has to start. So once you know that, I want to raise great kids, okay, good. That means no 13-hour days for you. It's very simple to start planning your day that way. So it's values first on the bottom of the foundation of the pyramid. That's the strongest rock that you start with. Then on top of that is something that Dean was talking about yesterday, which is your vision. That's where you get to next. Values drive your vision. And then you have to know your value of your time. So if you take a look at all the people in here, like an income level at the bottom line would be $500,000 a year probably. So that means every single hour of your working day is worth $250. Now, who here is willing to admit that they're still doing stuff like running errands, going to the UPS store, cutting the lawn, making meals, all this stuff, even writing a book? And I know that a lot of female entrepreneurs, you are guilted into it by mother-in-law or by mother, right? You are still making all the meals, you're still doing all the cooking, and it's killing you because you're trying to run this business at the same time. Now, I remember back in 2009 watching an Eben Pagan video, and Eben said in the video, entrepreneurs can't be doing their laundry. And when I first saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm doing my laundry. I'm wasting all this time all this stuff is below my value. So if your value is $250 or more per hour, that's a lot of money you can put into having people do everything for you. And that's the mindset you have to have as you go and schedule in your day. Even if you want to write a book, think about writing a book. How long is it going to take you if you're not a writer? But you know you have a great book in you, right? It's going to take you over 100 hours. Now, if your time is worth $250, and it's going to take you more than 100 hours to write a book, just pay Tucker $25,000 and get the book done so much faster. That's who I've used for both of my books, and it saves me a ton of time. So you have to have that type of thinking. Starts with your vision, or your values, your vision, and the value that you put on yourself, and it's going to make you a whole bunch of time to then focus on what matters. So what Tony said yesterday, the one problem in his life is time. I bet you if I spend a full day with Tony, I could save him or make him 30 minutes of time. And if the guy's running $6 billion worth of revenue in companies, that's going to be worth a lot to him. I can do that for him.
What we should do, I'll take the video of this and I'll take that clip and send it to Tony.
Good.
And see if he does that.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy's done all of that stuff better than anybody. No.
Yeah, so that's my next question. So Bedros, you and Craig, you guys have been working together for about a decade, I think.
Yeah, about a decade.
And you've created a whole winning system by watching pretty much what this guy does.
Yeah.
Because he's very much that guy. And by the way, let me mention this because I didn't do this. I've gone through Craig's whole process, spent a day and a half with him. amazing and really just such a great thinker. So tell us how having clarity of path and becoming a disciplined entrepreneur allowed you to, go from anxiety attacks and tremors, which you were having, to a $25 million business, I think it is approximately.
Yep.
And one of the fastest growing fitness franchises on the planet.
Well, I've had the good fortune of, before he ever wrote the book, The Perfect Day Formula, and before he ever had the Perfect Life workshops that I've gone through as well, I've had the good fortune of having environmental exposure to this guy. And if you haven't had a chance to have environmental exposure to Craig, it's a unique experience. His gift is outside eyes. And so at first I would laugh, like, why is it that you want to have dinner at 5:30? That's kind of like a late lunch for me, right? Why aren't we partying? Because we run masterminds together, Miami, San Diego, Las Vegas, Tennessee. We're having good time. We're in great cities, man. Let's like party till midnight. What do you mean you're going to bed by 9 o'clock? What gives? But I soon started realizing that as I was laughing, I was having anxiety attacks when I'd go home and essential tremors. I would just lock up and freeze, and my wife would just like look at me like, what's going on? And I very quickly realized that his life structure is what I need if I plan on taking this franchise that was just puttering along and really making it reach its fullest potential. And I'm far from that. Our goal is 2,500 locations by the year 2020. We've got 614 locations as of yesterday that are actually open and more in development. But the life structure and discipline that I've been able to witness from him, never mind reading the book and experiencing it firsthand from the workshop, has been a game changer for me. And for most leaders, most of us in here, and I know you've experienced this where you feel like you're overwhelmed with opportunity. You truly have more opportunities than you have time left on the calendar. That's the reality of it. You try and put so many irons in the fire, and that's what I was doing. And at the end of the day, I realized, what is my biggest purpose on this planet? I'm still a personal trainer. It's just now I'm going to touch millions of lives through our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, and I'll touch lives of people who'll never know me, but I'll be a bigger trainer than Tony Little and Jillian Michaels through our franchise. So why am I striking up a deal with this guy? Why am I doing another event here when my purpose is to be the world's biggest trainer, making an impact in people's health, fitness, lifestyle, self-esteem, self-image? And so I went narrow and deep on my focus of Fit Body Bootcamp, and it went from failing in 2012, 13, and anxiety attacks, and I was in a very dark, negative place, taking Vicodin and NyQuil every night to go to sleep, to now a $25 million company and growing, where I have 2 VPs running the organization and a leadership team, and then, of course, implementers who execute our vision. And that's really, if you're in this room, you're a visionary. You just come up with the vision and the path, and you execute to your high-performance team.
Okay, so from what I'm getting from you, you're in this place, you then learn how to structure, and so that pretty much is designing your day. So how does one go about doing that and starting that?
Okay, so I speak to a lot of fitness gym owners and stuff like that, and so I use this phrase, the champion mindset, in that all these fitness gym owners, at one point in their life, they've either been a champion athlete in college, or they've been a bodybuilder or something like that. And so they're very successful in one area of their life, but then they struggle with sales, or they struggle with their time management. And I say to them, listen, you've already been really, really, really successful here. You've put the systems in place. And so all you have to do is transfer that champion mindset over to this other area in life where you're struggling. So that is just thinking like, okay, well, it's planning and preparation. It was having a coach. It was having a deadline. It was getting the accountability. It was having all those things. And so whatever it is that you guys are good at, wherever you have had great success in life, you just have to transfer that over to having the systems in your own productivity. So can I tell you a very embarrassing story about how I almost fought Shawn Stevenson?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
So I hired Shawn for his breakthrough day earlier this year. And it's a heck of a day. And I was going to him because I have all the productivity and stuff in place, but I wasn't getting into deep emotional relationships. And so Shawn was helping me through that. And he showed me by the end of the day of our 12 hours together that I had basically built myself a system to stop myself from getting into deep emotional relationships with women. So I was building myself a prison, essentially. And Shawn pointed that out to me, and I was very angry at Shawn for pointing it out to me because I didn't like to be shown that I'm not perfect. And so,
Money up front.
right.
Shawn sent money up front if you could.
Money up front. I love that.
So Shawn was actually, were you terrified? Were you worried?
I was,
Maybe we could grab him a mic.
Shawn was concerned because we
Thanks,
were both
Master.
standing there and staring at this whiteboard where he had pointed out that I had built this prison for myself. And so it sucked. I didn't want to admit it.
there was shame. Like, it was like, how the hell did I create this very problem that I claim that I don't want? And that's the hardest part about it.
Yeah, and so he pointed out to me that I built this system that put me in a bad place. And then I realized, hey, I can just go and dismantle that system and build a new system that allows me to have what I want. And I've since done that, and thank you, Shawn, for pointing that out. But it just goes to show you that if you've built a system, like there's a lot of great marketers in here who might struggle with family relationships or their health, and you've built a great marketing system. You can go and do the same thing for your time management, for your health, for your family relationships. It's all just about building systems that work for you. And the 5 things that I've used to build systems for anything that can change your life in any way is having better planning and preparation than ever before, having professional accountability, which is going to give you expert advice and someone to hold you accountable and not let you get away with anything. Third is positive social support. So that's being in a room like this. You know, you might not get breakthrough ideas from everybody in here, but they're going to pick you up when you're feeling down. Fourth is having a meaningful incentive. So we're not doing things for money or stuff. It's what matters in life is people and experiences. So a meaningful incentive has to come from your heart, not from your wallet. And then finally, the big deadline. There has to be a deadline in the behavioral change that you want to make. And if you have those 5 things in place, you can do anything in life. You can lose weight, you can get rich, you can find the love of your life, the home of your dreams, whatever you want, if you use those 5 things. So just put them in place, build the systems you want for your time, for your family, for your making $1 million.
So when you focused on this thing, I mean, I guess the way is that's the big picture thing for you that you needed to build things around.
Absolutely.
So like, how do you structure your day? Like, what does your day look like, and how can people in this room structure their day?
Well, the most important thing is that you get up. It doesn't matter what time you get up. So I get up early in the morning, but you don't have to get up really early in the morning. What you need to do first thing in the morning when you get up is focus on your #1 priority in life for 15 minutes. And the reason why I say that is because most people don't spend 15 minutes a day without electronics thinking about their #1 priority in life. It could be an opportunity to take advantage of, or it could be a problem that you're going through. If you give yourself 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week, for 52 weeks in a year, that's 72 hours of clear, uninterrupted thinking. And you can write a book in that time, you can do anything you want. But most people don't do it. And most people, does anybody in here get stressed out before 8 o'clock because their morning routine has too much crap in it? You know, you have to do meditation, you have to do gratitude journaling, you have to do freeform journaling, you have to do exercise, you have to do yoga with JP, and you have to do interpretive dance. Like, you have to do all of that before 7 in the morning, according to like these articles that you see on the internet. And most people are getting stressed out. So don't do any of that stuff. Instead, just sit there and think, go down to your kitchen table, think on your #1 priority for 15 minutes, and then the rest of your day, it can go any which way you want, but you've already had that victory. That's the most important thing. If I can just give you one piece of advice, that's it.
That wasn't bad. That was not bad.
Can I share something where that's concerned too? And it's really made a big change in my life. I'm sure it'll make a big change in yours. Is every single person's morning routine needs to start the night before. And again, this is through environmental exposure through Craig. I've learned more by watching this guy than ever by asking him questions. Because sometimes when you're the problem, you don't know what questions to ask to get out of the problem. But when you watch, you learn. And even in the evenings now, as soon as I get home, after the first hour of being home, I just turn my phone on silent, in airplane mode, and I leave it alone. Anything that happens work-wise, I'm not going to be able to solve it 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, number one. Number two, I don't want to feel guilt the next day when I'm working that I didn't spend actual valuable time connecting with my wife and kids, because we're all sucking off the screen there. I don't screen suck anymore. I mean, imagine how many people fall asleep in this very room screen sucking the very last thing you did before you fell asleep, and now that's really impacting your subconscious mind. Instead, I'll still open up my notes, because remember, it's in airplane mode, so there's no notifications popping up, and I've turned off all notifications, but there's no text messages popping up. Open up my phone and write down my 5 things I'm going to attack the next morning. And so I do that brain dump the night before. I'm not screen sucking and reading bad news, bad emails. The problem's still going to be there tomorrow morning when I can actually do something about it with my VPs and my team leads, et cetera. In the evening time, I'm not going to stress about it. And so if you just focus on actually setting yourself up to win the night before by eliminating screens, by not hitting the snooze button in the morning, because I'm convinced, and someone needs to do a study on this, that if you hit the snooze button first thing in the morning, you really are telling your subconscious mind that I'll take 10 more minutes of interrupted sleep over getting out and dominating my purpose in life. And I believe over time, that stacks up against you, like a stack of dominoes where you hit the I'm a loser domino and off it goes, right? Every morning, it's like we have 2 stacks of dominoes to hit. If you hit the snooze button, you're hitting the I'm a loser stack. But that's been a big thing for me, man, preparing the night before for the next morning. And we all know when you win your mornings, you win your days, they add up into a massive amount of success in your life, whether it's family, health, happiness. Like when people tell me, gee, Bedros, I just have a few more pounds to lose. It's like, fuck, man, we're all millionaires in here, right? We're all doing well. You can't hire a nutrition expert. You can't hire a personal trainer. Then it's like, well, I can, but I don't have the time. How do you not have the time? And I later found out they're not working in their 5%. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about your 5%, at least in the Genius Network groups that I've been in. One time, this was, I don't know, almost 11, 12 years ago, I was working out of my home. We didn't have an office then. My wife calls upstairs to the guest house, and she goes, hey, dude, sprinkler has a leak. It's like a fountain in our backyard. I said, oh, I'll be down and fix it. And so I went down to fix it, and I'm pretty handy with that stuff, but I got mud all over my arms. And the only employee I had was one assistant. Her name was Amanda at the time. Comes down and she goes, hey, people are responding to the email you just sent out. They actually want to get on the phone with you and see if the coaching is right. I said, oh man, Amanda, I've got mud all over me. You've heard me do the close many a times. You got this. Now I'm asking Amanda to work outside of her 5%. I'm working outside of my 5%. What could have cost me $20 to pay someone else to fix that sprinkler, I lost a $5,000 sale. At the time, it was $5,000. Today, it's $50,000 to coach with me. But $5,000 to me might as well have been $50,000 back then, 11 years ago. And that was the best lesson. And you all have your 5%. Most of you, it's delegate, motivate, and sell. You delegate to your team. You motivate your business partners, your clients, your team, and then you sell. That's it. Anything outside of that, if you're doing your laundry, if you're doing your grocery shopping, we've got a house manager. Her name is Valentina, and she does the shopping for us and changes the light bulb. Anything that's in the 5%. My wife says, hey, can you take out the garbage? No, it's not on my 5%. Hey, the light bulb's out. It's not on my 5%. Hey, the sprinkler sprung a leak. It's not on my 5%. But now there's someone who can do it. You can afford to get another wife in your house or a... You know how I mean that. Some of you know how I mean that. Yeah. But you really can. And you forget this. And my challenge to you is, why don't you buy back some of your time, focus on your 5% that matters, so you could really focus on what happiness is, which to me, it's money, meaning, health, and relationships. That's it. It's a simple formula, really.
Well, in 1997, I hired Gary Halbert for, well, I think you both have maybe heard the TripXX Halbert tapes. I recorded it just on, a little cassette player, and for myself, we ended up distributing it as a product. And it was me and Pamela Yellen and Gary Halbert, John Carlton. We're all sitting around in this hotel room because I was up there doing consulting with Bill Phillips at the time, Body for Life author. And basically, we're all making a list of, if we were all millionaires, what are the things that we would have in our lives? And one thing that every person wrote down is a personal trainer. And then I think it was John Carlton that said, you don't need to be a millionaire to hire a personal trainer. You don't need to be a millionaire to hire a lot of these things. You can just, and as a matter of fact, by not doing it, it's one of the best ways to not become a millionaire because you spend all of your time doing what you just
True enough.
explained.
And you start to feel like an imposter in your industry. You really do, because the content you're going to deliver on that video, you're not delivering at 100% because you don't feel comfortable in your own skin. How you're going to pitch from the stage, you don't feel 100%. Let me tell you, I'm in the fitness industry, and it's been 15 years since I've trained a client. But when I was in that stressful period of my life, 7 to 8 years ago, as we were growing Fit Body Bootcamp, I was 25 pounds fatter. And when I would get up on stage at Fitness Business Summit to sell, there's no surprise. I was selling 5, 6, 7 mastermind coaching clients. Today, 90 to 100, 110 people come on board at a time. The difference is not my pitch. The difference is not anything else other than the fact that I feel authentic, and that transfers to the audience. And I don't care what you think. It transfers through video, through your email, through your mannerisms, your eye contact, every single thing, your stage presence. So work on you, man. Work on you first. It's so valuable.
Love it. I want to ask you both about how do you do, I mean, with what you're doing with the franchises, I mean, how do you deal with the information overload? I mean, you've touched on a lot of it with just even the, what you do in the morning, what you do the night before, but how do you deal with the sheer volume of stuff? And I mean, and everyone here has their own version of that.
Yeah, and we're all leaders, and so you can definitely, I know you've experienced this before, where you become the human bottleneck in your business, right? How often are you the one with the buck in your hands and you don't know what to do with it because you got 10 other bucks that you got to do something with? You're the human bottleneck. And so I quickly learned that I can't be the boss that runs it. I forget who was up here yesterday. I think it was Tony who said, you still have a job. You're a millionaire, but you still have a job. And so I'm a big believer in decentralized command. And all that simply means is I have 2 leaders, 2 VPs, VP of operations, VP of new business, because as we bring on new franchises that I take equity in, the VP of new business will make sure that they are running like Fit Body Bootcamp is running so that we have congruency and KPIs in place. But the VP of operations and VP of new business are the ones I meet with them 35, 40 minutes every day after my workout. They go and delegate to the team leads. Team leads delegate to their implementers, their department, and then they execute. And the simple formula is this: what is it that we're doing? How's it going to look when it's done? And what is the deadline? That's it. So I just have to talk to my 2 VPs, and they go and delegate, and then when it's done, we'll have a meeting on it, and I might say, well, I don't like how that works, or what if we did it this way? But again, I'm no longer the bottleneck in my business. And when you're the bottleneck, now you start doing time theft from yourself. I'm going to cheat who was it? Todd Durkin. Todd Durkin, are you in here? Todd Durkin. Remember you were saying that at some point, I'm just going to eat a protein bar and skip lunch. Eating engineered food is not food. I don't care if it's a protein bar, it's not food. And you start stealing time from yourself, from your family, from your sanity, from your workouts, from your sleep. Before long, you're having an anxiety attack, an essential tremor, because the human body can't deal with that. So decentralized command. Find leaders. As Tony said, let them fail, create the systems, and delegate to them.
Anything you'd like to add?
I just don't know how to do anything, mostly with tech stuff. So I mean, he makes fun of me all the time. But on my phone, I have 2 apps, and that's all I have.
Do you still have a BlackBerry?
I still have a 7.5-year-old BlackBerry that I use, and you can't do anything on that thing. So I just avoid getting myself in trouble. I build a lot of systems because I'm a very weak person. Like anybody else, I get really tempted by things, and so I just keep myself out of harm's way. Just like, I tell, if somebody comes to me for weight loss, you tell them to keep the crap out of the house. Yeah. It's the simplest thing to do. So keep yourself out of trouble. How can you keep yourself out of trouble? Just go through your day and figure out what are the things that are causing me the most problems? What are the things that are getting me in the most trouble? And then figure out a way to keep them out of your life. So a lot of not to-dos is a good place to start. Most people's most important list is their not to-do list, not their to-do list.
Mm-hmm. No, what you just said is, it's interesting. I'm a very weak person. We all have areas where I've always liked, and you'll hear me talk about it, I'll ask different people, what's your kryptonite? What is the sort of thing that gets you in the way? Because the best way to get out of a hole is to quit digging it. And people dig a lot of their own holes. And I see that with addiction. A lot of people here that are workaholics from my conversation with Gabor Mate, there's an understanding of where a lot of this stems from. It's just the things that a person becomes conditioned to that continues to build these dopamine hits. And so like phones is an example. If you have a workaholic problem or tendency or whatever you want to call it, but you're also doing all these other things that you are not strong with, that are these temptations. You know, if you're an alcoholic, you can't keep booze around the house. You know, if you're a food addict, you can't keep a bunch of freaking Snicker bars and shit everywhere. So
Well, I use this analogy, like, you know, if you have young kids bring home this, you know, they draw something, you can't figure out what it is, but they bring it home to you, right? And you give them your approval, and it's like giving them a gold star, right? And so as entrepreneurs, we're getting gold stars from things. And so like the next time you watch a video that says hustle and grind, you know, 16 hours a day, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and do that because, you know, I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna get a gold star from some guy on the internet because he sees me hustling and grinding. But that's totally misaligned with your values, and that's where you get in trouble. But you keep on doing that. Next thing, oh man, you're really working hard. You know, I see you hustling, grinding. That's awesome. And you're getting positive reinforcement from the wrong thing. And so your actions are misaligned from your goals, and that's what causes what I call is like the first world problem, which is, you know, the biggest stress is when we're not aligned in what we're doing. And so if you keep on you know, you say you want this in your life, but your actions are taking you down here, there's always going to be that stress inside you until you align your actions with your goals, which is starting with your values and your vision. And so, you know, what I've seen Bedros do now, like Bedros is even better with his time than I am now. Like he gets done work at 4 o'clock, so he plays with his kids before dinner, has dinner with his family, plays with his kids after dinner, has time to watch one television show and hang out in the hot tub with his wife. I mean, that, and run a business with 600 franchises. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of the mindsets and emotions, how you kind of manage that among yourself, or what kind of do you come into this with on a daily basis, I guess? You know, are you an affirmation guy? Are you
Yeah, I guess I'm an Enneagram 3. Most people think I'm an Enneagram 7, but I am still driven by success. Affirmations, yeah, we actually did the love language test with everyone on our staff.
okay.
And which is good. You know, we say love your
Yeah.
customers more than you love your product, but love your people, love your team even more than you love your customers.
Mm.
And so if that's true, do you know what your people love? And so we didn't know it. So our fans first director said, I want to do a love language test of all of our people. And so we did a test of the entire team.
Yes.
And it was great. We found out that 90% of our people were words of affirmation was number one. Number one. And it was funny, our president was words of affirmation was number one, but touch was on the bottom. He goes, guys, tell me you love me, but don't you ever touch me.
Don't touch
Very
me.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you ever touch me. But
Keep your
yeah,
hands off me.
so we learned that. And, you know, again, I remember we ask our team every year, what was their favorite moment of their year? And I will never forget our director of operations. And we hosted huge concerts here, sold out crowds. And he goes, Jesse, it was after our first concert and you put your arm on my shoulder and said that you were proud of me and that I did well tonight. He goes, that was my best moment. And I go, wow. And I was like, it was just something I never really remembered. But,
Yeah.
you know, we think as leaders, how do we tell people, you know, that we care about them, recognize them in
Isn't
different
that
ways?
interesting how knowing that little bit of information, like if that person was words of affirmation and touch, you just like full HD
Yeah.
appreciated them. And what you could do that same thing if people are gifts and quality time, or you know, looking at that, I see how that would work.
And you have a database, you know, when we have all of our fans, we have all of our team, when they join our team, even in the interview process, we ask all these questions. So we get to know them when they first show up that first day, we try to create the biggest fan of them. So we map their entire day. You know, when they first come in, we actually have everyone in costume, silly string. We have their favorite breakfast. We have a whole breakfast ceremony, you know, and we map their day. At the end of the day, we have a big cheers. Their name goes up on the wall. And so again, I think if you want to create great fans of your customers, you got to create great fans of your people first. And that's part of our strategy, how we do things. But I don't know if that was the whole question. I think you asked me affirmations. I'm an energy guy. I just try to thrive. I try to do things that give me energy. I was terrible at operations. I'm terrible at finances. I don't touch those things. Details. I stay in my energy. So I created my energy list. What are the things that give me energy? And I realized it was creating, sharing, and growing. Whenever I'm coming with ideas, creating new visions, sharing with our team, leading on a speech, on a podcast, or growing, reading, learning, listening to your podcast, other podcasts, I try to spend most of my day doing that and hire other people to do everything else. So when I go home to my and I go home to my 2 3-year-olds, you know, I have energy. I have energy to be there for them because I'm doing the things that gave me
Because
energy.
everything you're doing all day is energy. See, if you're thinking, we're a lot alike in that. In my world, the ideas are what. That's the thing, is I really like the coming up with what we could do, possibilities, getting all of those things. But I definitely need and am surrounded by who can then make all of that come true, because I'm not the person who can focus enough to do any of it, right? That's the reality. So what's your best piece of advice for, say, a startup, or somebody who's thinking, you know what, I'm gonna take something on here and I want to take this approach?
It's not the most poetic, but I would ask this question, and I'd put it right on top of the front page of your paper, and look at it on a regular basis. What makes you different? And you know what we did is we actually challenged our team, and it's on our website, on our About Us. We wrote all the different things that were different. You know, we're the only all-inclusive ballpark. We have no ads at our ballpark. We have, you know, grandma coaches, 8-year-old coaches. We play in kilts. You know, we wrote all those things. And I think everyone tries to be a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper. What can you be the only at? And when you're the only, you don't have to market. You don't have to do everything else. You're the only because everyone's doing the marketing for you. So what makes you different? What can you be the only? I think for a startup, if you're trying to be a Me Too, it's hard work. It's a bloody ocean, as the Blue Ocean Strategy.
Right, exactly.
Entrepreneur is someone who has a vision of the way the future should be, and then actually takes action to make it happen. It's an entrepreneur, someone with a passion and a desire to provide something to people that they want themselves, and then go and they make it happen. When I think back to my childhood, what started me on the path that I'm on was really getting my first passion, which was spaceflight. I was born during the Apollo era. Star Trek was coming out, and it ignited my imagination, what was possible. And I became absolutely passionate. I was a man on a mission to open the space frontier. And when I talk to kids now, I say, listen, the most important thing you have to do, more than anything else, is find that thing that you're passionate about, that you will do day or night, whether someone pays you or not. Because if you have that, you have gold. So when I found my passion for opening up space, and then later on attacking grand challenges, incentive competitions, exponential technologies, it fuels me, it lights my fire, and it gives me sort of a guiding star to aim at when things don't go well, or when things get foggy. I can look and say, that's where I'm going, and it focuses me. 2 years ago, I started on a new journey, which is a project I call Bold. And it is, if abundance is where we're going in the next 20 to 30 years, Bold is the blueprint, the tools on how to get there. It's the notion that today, all of us can do what only governments and large corporations used to be able to do. You have the tools in your tool chest to literally take on the world's biggest problems and really take on billion-dollar ambitions. Doing anything big and bold in the world is difficult. It's tough. You know, sometimes you're lucky, but most of the times it's hard work. And to drive something different, not incremental, but a transformational change, means taking risk. Because the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. And if you are trying crazy ideas, a good number of them are going to fail. So ultimately, you have to be ready to embrace risk, risk to your fortune, risk to your time, risk to reputation, if you want to do big and bold things in the world. So the year is 1996. Kodak has a $28 billion market cap. It's 140,000 employees. It's 104 years old at this date. And it was in 1976, 20 years earlier, that Kodak invented the digital camera that ultimately puts them out of business. And what happened was the engineer who invented the digital camera explained to his folks what this was going to do, what the potential was. But this first digital camera was only 0.01 megapixels. 0.01 megapixels. And the CEO and the heads of the business looked at this guy, it's a toy for kids. What do you mean? And we're in the chemicals and paper business, not this digital camera stuff. And so they ignored it. They ignored this. And unfortunately, last year in 2012, Kodak goes bankrupt. What's interesting, though, in that same year, another company, also in the digital imagery business, called Instagram, gets acquired by Facebook for $1 billion, but with 13 employees. I call this process of going from a linear company being displaced by an exponential one, the new Kodak moment. I think success ultimately are simple things. It's going to be being a great dad. It is knowing that I am full out, that I'm doing everything I possibly can. It's knowing I have a purpose in life and that I am making a headroad towards that purpose. And I do know from my heart of hearts that it is the journey and not the destination.
The first is, in fact, the X Prize, a $10 million contest that we are organizing here. And this $10 million award will be going to the winner, which is the first team to do the following.
I remember that moment in time when the Ansari X Prize was won. October 4th of 2004, I'd been working on the X Prize for a decade. Spaceship One had just made its second flight to 100 kilometers. It had landed. The prize was over. It had been won. Against all the odds, this had been successfully done. And I remember taking a moment to say, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? This 10-year journey is over. What am I feeling in my heart and my soul? And I had the strangest experience. My experience was looking around me and realizing that while I had just journeyed up to the top of this mountain, all I saw around me were higher mountains. And it was the notion that there will always be more and more and more and more things you can do in life. And so don't ever think you're reaching a destination. You know, it is the journey and the experience and the people you go through life with that matter the most.
I am yet to see you in a situation where you strikes me with incredible pressure, where you have meltdowns or that you are just not friendly and positive and solution focused. Mm-hmm. What do you do when it becomes so overwhelming? Is it the 5 minutes? Is that it?
Honestly, it's just a matter of taking a step back. Because again, early on, when I was younger, my mom used to say, don't ever have pity parties for yourself. And there's nothing more true, right? Like you can, in a moment, feel sorry for yourself, or you can already start working for a solution. Mm-hmm. So I noticed that about myself, you know, in college. Oh my gosh, I have these tests and these exams and I have 2 jobs I was doing. You know what? Wow, I get to go to college because I had some friends who couldn't, and I'm complaining about this and I'm overwhelmed. But you know what? Again, that's temporary. I'm going to sit here and complain and cry for an hour because I'm pissed off. No, I need to be studying. Right. So it's making sure you utilize and maximizing the time to do something that's beneficial. You're either making progress or you're making excuses. And truly, I don't have time for excuses. I don't have downtime. I mean, I am go, go, go from every minute. And if I can stay positive, happy, find the good in it, my day is filled with hurdles every day. But thankfully, I have hurdles every single day. You know, honestly, like I could be sitting at home with no job and no money and stressed to the max just because, I don't know, whatever it is, my kids aren't healthy. So no matter what, there's always a silver lining. Sometimes it's hard to find it. Sometimes it's hard to find it. But again, I choose to be positive. And people say, how? There's some days I'm going on 2 hours of sleep. So what? Again, I can choose what environment I want to put myself in, my mindset, And as long as I'm happy, my days are okay. It's great.
Well, okay, so you are a energy generating machine, right? So there's
Yes.
physical, but there's also this emotional energy that you seem to have. So if someone is feeling defeated or feeling like they can't go on, if in the perfect world, I would be call Whitney Jones.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
literally,
yeah.
you're really good at that sort of stuff. Who do you lean on when you need a sounding board, when you are going through difficult times, physically, emotionally? How does that work in your life?
So I've actually this year I've changed something because I noticed that again, bad days, if I have someone to complain to, I will. But during COVID, with our businesses shut down, I was working from home a lot.
And you had COVID twice. I got to
Yes,
mention that. She
I
had
did.
COVID twice.
Even though I'm living and breathing health and fitness, I still got it. But I'm okay, thankfully.
Yeah.
But during those downtimes, I'm at home by myself, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these things, the gym shut down, could be bad, right? But if I didn't have someone to complain to, I moved on. And it was a very eye-opening experience to go, I am not complaining near as much, even if it was just the vent. Because yes, sometimes you need to vent. What I found I do now, I don't like writing in a journal, but I like dictating through my phone and notes. So I get it out. So I vent, but I'm not bothering anyone else with my problems. And it's a quick 5 minute, because there's no dialogue.
Right.
So it's not sitting and whining. Because again, I don't want to be stuck in that negative space. So if something's really frustrating me that I can't move on, I have my own little tools that I implement. And that's one of the biggest things I've done this year. Because think about it, if you don't have someone to complain to at the moment, you just move on and you distract yourself.
Well, it's another version of the whole misery loves company. I
Yes,
guess if you have someone to
100%.
just wallow in pain with, then it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about environment, because one of our Genius Network members, Ben Hardy, one of his first books, he wrote Who Not How's, his recent one, and he wrote Personality Isn't Permanent, but which is also, I could say so much about that, even as it relates to you. One of his first books was Willpower Doesn't Work, and it was really about the environment. So how do you create the winning environment for you, like your home, your gym, where you spend time with? Could you speak to that?
I mean, and it kind of follows some of the same principles, because again, if you allow a toxic environment, it's just going to keep breeding and continue to build this toxic environment that nobody wants, right? So in my companies, in my businesses with my kids, if they're coming home and they had a hard day at school or sports, I listen to them because that's important. They're growing, and I need to teach them properly how to kind of process everything, but we don't dwell on it. So if I feed into it and I help, I don't know why they're giving you that much homework, or, why is your coach yelling at you? No, I don't feed into it. I let them vent, and then we talk through it and say, so if your coach is telling you you're doing this wrong, you're probably doing it wrong, or let's identify it, again, solution-based. In the gym, sometimes we come in during COVID, once we finally opened up, there was just hard times. Families were experiencing hardship. We had some of our members who couldn't come in because they couldn't financially afford it. So there was this kind of mellow environment here in aura that isn't normal here.
Right.
But it's like, okay, I found that to be my job to come in and just bring the energy. So people follow, right?
Yeah.
If they follow an energetic person, then the vibe changes.
Totally.
If I'm walking around, just kind of poor us, then everyone's going to follow that. So I feel it's my duty to really kind of set that tone and set that mood. And it's worked. It's worked well. I mean, a lot of people have said if I travel, they're like, it's just different at the gym when you're not there. And I don't necessarily don't want that, but then again, I'm like, okay, good. So what I'm doing is working. Yeah. So that always will help. Like, I feel like I set the tone.
Right.
And I feel like it's my job to, as a mom, as a business owner. So we have the ability to change it. If people are having a bad day, I'm not just gonna walk over, hi, sometimes it just takes someone to shake you out of it and be like, all right, you made me laugh. Laughter to me is one of the biggest ways to easily change the mood. And
I agree.
It's not that hard.
What's your refrigerator look like at home? When someone opens up your refrigerator, if anyone, what's in there?
Oh gosh, everything. Because again, I eat healthy, but I don't always eat healthy because that would be boring. I like to have some fun. So right now, though, I would say we've got the salad and chicken and fish, and then we've got the milk for all the cereal I like to eat. Frozen cookie dough, because that is a go-to. Oh yeah, cookie
Really?
dough just out. Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
I never would have known.
I know. Oh yeah, donuts, Oreos are my go-to for my little treats.
Wow.
Again, I'm working out all the
How
time.
often do you
so
eat Oreos, though, really?
honestly, every day I eat at least 2 every day.
Really?
Oh, even in prep, even show mode. Yeah.
Like a day before the show?
Yes, sugar works for me. I've discovered that through my
Okay.
training that sugar, like today, I mean, I'm in prep right now, and I
Yeah.
had 2 full donuts already.
Oh my God! Well, but you're burning through so
I
many
am,
calories, so,
yes.
so for the average person, we're not
For
recommending
sure.
you. Yeah.
And it wasn't like this always. I've had to work to build up my metabolism,
Yeah.
and that has helped. But yeah, I mean, it's a process. Your body can.
Someone get me a donut or something?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show you my Oreo stash.
That
yeah.
is so funny.
I have huge bins.
I mean,
yes.
God, okay. So you got a whole mix. So what is the difference between healthy and unhealthy?
Extreme. You can't be extreme. Everything in moderation. So I know that sounds cliche, but again, I eat healthy for most of the day, but I do have some little treats. And I usually will, again, if I'm eating 2 donuts, I put them before and after my workout. I don't
Right.
just eat them at night right before I lay down to go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's just being strategic, but trying to just be totally hardcore and eating nothing but say chicken and broccoli, that's not sustainable in my opinion. I would never advise that for clients because at some point you're going to want to go out and go on a date or holidays and eat with the family. And it's that one day that then just triggers this downward spiral. Wow. So everything in moderation. But again, it also goes back to finding what works for your body. Previously, sugar did not work for my body. 10 years ago, if I ate even a carb, I was an endurance athlete before I got into this.
Yeah.
But if I ate a carb, I mean, you would see it. And so I was eating like a bird and I was this cardio bunny. Then I got back into really lifting and slowly but surely eating strategically. I built my metabolism up where if you saw what I eat in a daily realm, especially close to show, it's so much food that it's hard sometimes to take in all the food, believe it or not.
So you literally have trained your body to metabolize what it is you eat. And so how could someone because you have such an extreme knowledge of nutrition and precision and at the level that you're at. So for a person, what would be some ways to learn about food, learn about nutrition? What do they need to, where would they start?
The biggest thing I always say is if you're having to eliminate something completely, like say 0 fats or 0 carbs, it's not sustainable. It's not going to last. There's a reason you need each of these proteins, fats, and carbs. But again, everything in moderation. So late at night, don't eat tons of food. That's where a lot of people, they don't eat all day or they'll just have like one meal and then at 6 or 7 p.m., they just eat tons. That's not usually the best route to take. Always trying to eat small meals throughout the day, making sure you get sleep, drinking at least a gallon of water a day. Those are very simple things that easily anyone could implement and their body will start changing just through consistency. And that's not even breaking down the science of, okay, what kind of foods work for your body? For example, I can eat tons of carbs, and if I eat healthy fats, my body doesn't like healthy fats. It likes fats from donuts and Oreos and stuff like that.
Really?
But if I eat nuts and avocado, my body just goes, meh.
Meaning you feel bloated or whatever?
Yeah, I get really soft. My body the skin sags. It just has some water on it. So if I want to be tight and toned, I eat lots of carbs, and then I mix it with stuff like snacks but again, just a little bit. But I've learned that through the years because usually everyone has something that works better for them, carbs or fats. It's one or the other. So it's just kind of troubleshooting it to figure it out, but you still need some. I still have to have some. So for anyone out there that's trying to just even make a few changes, simple things. 5 meals a day, small meals throughout. Just think of your body as a machine. It's just like a car. You got to put gas in your vehicle so it can run. You have to fuel your body to lose weight, or you got to fuel it to grow as well if you're trying to put on lean muscle. But eating multiple times throughout the day keeps your body working like a machine. Drinking water, same thing, working like a machine. You have to sleep in order to allow your body to recover and rest. So again, you can drop weight, get your cortisol levels down. So those are all very simple things that anybody can do.
So, Damon, you have your famous shark points. Jay, you have many things. 3 ways to grow a business, the strategy of preeminence, power Parthenon. 9 drivers, etc. Of them, which one single principle or concept would you keep and use if you could only choose one, and why? Which is like, what's the most important thing?
Mine would always be my first of the sharp points, and I have various different ones. So a lot of time, my sharp points is SHARK, and depending on who I'm speaking to, some can vary. The S is always that about goal setting. I always attribute reading a book that probably the entire crowd has read, Think and Grow Rich. The first time I read it at 16 years old, and I didn't really understand the value of goal setting until I was probably about 20, and after that, immediately my life started to change. And I don't say that casually, and I don't know if anybody here, does not know what goal setting is. It is not about, what you're going to do this week. I have 10 goals. 7 of them expire in 6 months. 2 expire in 5 years, and 1 expires in 20 years. The ones that expire in 6 months, I read them every morning and every night before I go to sleep, 5 days a week. It's the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up. And I make them very, very, I set my goals very high. I usually get to about 50% or 80% of the 6-month goals in regards to accomplishing each one. And then I reset them for another 6 months.
Interesting.
And those have been, over the course of my life, those have always been the ones that I've gone back to. I do find that 3 months or 6 months out of my life when I'm going through extremely challenging times, it could have been my divorce, or it could have been various challenges, and I start maybe drinking more than I should or hanging out more than I should, and I find that I don't do that, and after a while, after 6 or 7 months, I find that my life and or my motivation have taken a large decline. So I have been through that part of not goal setting probably about 6 times in my life, and those have been actually the worst times of my life.
Wow. I love the whole thing of the goal with an expiration date. I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, I put deadlines on things, but I've never really kind of thought about it.
Yeah, they have expiration dates, and I find myself getting anxiety around that. If the goal is the 15th of March, I was like, why am I feeling like this? And then I reset them.
Wow, okay. You?
I would fire myself if I was interviewing me for this one, because I'm going to give you a double answer. But probably the most important distinction, ideology, philosophy I ever learned, and I can be very arrogant about it because it wasn't my own originally, but was the strategy of preeminence. It's really redefined what I've become as a human being, as a contributor, as a catalyst to others, a benefactor, guide, advisor, and it's also it's propelled people to the highest level. And I'd like to actually tell a simple story because it's quite profound about it, but also I'd like to give a context about relational capital, because there's a depth and a breadth of it that is so transcendent to what somebody would think of as an affiliate deal. But just, to give you the simplistic concept of preeminence, it's basically to establish yourself as the only viable choice, the most trusted advisor for life. You have a moral responsibility to guide people to what's in their best interest. You can't let them buy less, more, less quantity. You may not even allow them to buy from you, or you can't allow them to buy from the competitor, not because they're a son of a gun prick, but because they're not going to add the value, the support. Your goal is not to fall in love with your product or your service. It's to fall in love with the people whose lives you're transforming. You have 4 categories of clients, certainly the ones that pay you, but then the others are the ones you pay, your team members, your vendors, your advisors, and your goal is to enrich their life, to grow, to add value. That's the important part, but it is totally external. And the real key to it is you don't wait for money to change hands to start investing. The preface or the premise is, in any relationship, one side is always being asked to invest first in the other, and your attitude is, I think you're a good investment, so I'm going to invest, but you're going to invest real value, and you can't invest real value if you don't have a clear context of what value is defined as by the various segments of the market you're trying to take. I can go deep on that, but forget that now. So we've done billions of dollars for clients using very sophisticated relational capital. And it's totally different than an affiliate deal. You know, it's like we will find people who have very trusted, credible relationships with the market that our client wants to reach, and we will engineer extraordinary relationships. And the easiest example I can give you is an old one, but it'll show the differentiation. I was laughing. Somebody wrote me the other day and said, "I want you to promote my software. There's a $100,000 top prize, and I'm giving my Porsche." And I said, well, first of all, I have more than one Porsche. Second of all, I don't do things for that. If it's got value, I don't make it another 20 or 30 grand ain't going to change my life. So I'd rather do it gratis if it's going to really impact the people. But when we used to do really integrated strategic relationships, and the easiest one I can tell you, I'm going to go back and date myself, but when gold was first legalized in the 70s, all the gold dealers were running ads in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Barron's, and that wasn't where the gold buyers were. The gold buyers were the conservative, many, is the water right here? Many of them were the libertarians, the von Mises, the Hayek type people, and they were subscribing and paying money to any of about 40 different newsletters that were out there. And I was the down below the surface strategist, mastermind, ethical puppeteer for all these people. And I also was the mastermind for this gold company that sold physical gold. Physical means you buy it, you get it. You can buy physical gold, you can buy options, you can buy bank owned, and I've helped all kinds of companies like that. But we would go to financial newsletters, and we wouldn't say, send out an email for us. We would strike a long-term arrangement. Well, first, we would be the recommended provider of the hard asset. Every time a new subscriber came, they would get from us a kit that would explain hard assets, give it the context, have interviews with prominent economists and advisors, including ones that didn't like gold, so that it had balance. Our deal was 4 times a year we would pay to put out special editions of the newsletter that would chronicle a lot of hard assets, and we'd pay money for great respected, iconic writers, and we would be featured in it too. Thrice a year we would do regional promotions where we would do programs on site all over the regions for these newsletters, and they would be for profit. We would use part of the money we were spending to get an icon, then we would speak. Any profit we would give them, but it gave us credibility. Many of these newsletters were very arrogant, and they would stop marketing if their marketing piece started breaking even. We were in a lead generating business, and lead generating was costing us $100, $200 a lead. So anytime their subscription offer stopped working, we had a standing offer that we would pick up the responsibility of taking their subscription piece, their promotion. I would improve the headline, I would improve the risk reversal, I would add to the bonuses, we would do whatever we could to make it profitable. Then we would pay to send it out, but we would get joint tenancy of all the names. And I can go on, but it's so much more sophisticated, and it wasn't static. It was a perpetual, we always played a long game. And also, if we were the first one to do that and it worked, I separately would reserve as a contingency the right to become the ombudsman, the provider, the manager, the partner in any and all other long-term strategic offerings that would go through that newsletter. So I created it as a distribution channel, and I did the same kind of thing with everybody, and it was a whole different level, and there still is. Oh, by the way, we never sent the same communication to any 2 newsletters. They were all customized so they had integrity, because a lot of these newsletters, not unlike a lot of the email list, were multiple subscribed. And if you have the same rhetoric, it looks very, very crass. But there's just a lot of deeper strategic thinking that's possible, and I overtalked.
No, but there's always more underneath the surface. That's why people that just try to knock off a certain particular ad or promotion don't really see everything that's going on, you know.
Agreed.
And when you make so much of your marketing just the public thing and you're not doing the relationship building stuff, that's why we had Dre Redfern talk about direct mail, 27-year-old guy here in the audience who, of course Dre, you're friends with Andrew.
Yeah, I adore him.
Yeah. And so basically, 27 years old, expert in direct mail, and the beauty of I became one of the highest paid speakers in the world in the niche of carpet cleaners where no one knew who the hell I was, but it was all, and I had all these people that would try to knock off my ads, but they didn't see all the direct mail. It's so stealth, it's so under the radar, as are many marketing things. People just cannot see them in the surface, and that's why if you understand what you're talking about here,
It's like a positive iceberg.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such an advantage.
Reaching impossible heights by embracing discomfort. I want you to think of a goal or dream that you've been wanting to pursue, but haven't. It could be learning a new skill. It could be doing something new in your business. It could be taking on a new hobby. It could be recording your first YouTube video. It could be doing a 10-minute talk. What haven't you done, but deep down, you really want to do? Right now, I want you to write it down or keep it top of mind during this talk. Now, this goal or dream hasn't been started or moved forward because in your mind, you may be saying the following: I'm not worthy. I'm not ready yet. There'll be a better time. I'll do it in the new year. I'm not wired that way. It's not my personality type. It's too scary. It's too much into the unknown. I don't want to be judged by others. My anxiety is too intense every time I think about doing it. Can you relate? I want to share something with you that's changed my life. 3 life-changing secrets that allowed me to reach out and pull my dreams toward me that you can use as well. My dreams that I've achieved include dream wife, dream wedding, dream puppy child, dream honeymoon. Italy was fantastic, by the way. Dream home, dream network. Just gonna let that one sit a second so you guys can see a couple of faces there. Amongst other dreams, including dreams around family, business, health, lifestyle. I want to tell you about something that happened at an Orlando mastermind. This was about 5-6 years ago, and I was new to the personal development space. I was new to the thinking bigger space. And somebody by the name of Trish turned to me. She said, Dan, I know somebody, her name is Sharon. She got me on podcasts. She got me on stages, and she was very reasonably priced. I was like, wow, that's amazing. She's like, within about 5 months, I was on a panel with Gary Vaynerchuk. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I told somebody who was invited as a guest, a gentleman by the name of Akbar Sheikh. Some of you may know him, met him through the ClickFunnels world. I said, Akbar, Trish got on stages and podcasts and within a very short amount of time had all this success. We then had lunch together the next day. It was a mastermind type of home setting, so it was casual. People were sitting all throughout the house during lunch. And she said, Akbar, would you like me to give you an intro so that you can share your message on podcasts, on stages, and spread your wings? She's like, absolutely, I love an intro. Then Trish turns to me and she says, Dan, would you like me to give you an intro? I said, I'm not ready, but maybe down the road. Then Akbar turns to me and he says, Dan, you're ready, bro.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
And in a snap of a second, I said, I guess I am ready. It was this new feeling of doing something that I didn't feel ready for anyway. So I got the intro. I started month after month sharing my expertise on podcasts. Boy, that was a little uncomfortable. Getting on some stages, sharing my expertise, that was a little uncomfortable. And coincidentally, maybe it was fate. Within about 4 or 5 months, I hosted an event and Gary Vee was keynote. All because somebody believed in me, but really it's just me reframing it in me believing in myself. Spring of 2020, this is what Joe mentioned in the beginning. My entire wedding entertainment, corporate entertainment, and production company was done. The entire live events world froze. Very quickly, after a short vacation of 1 or 2 weeks off, I'm sure many of you could relate of what are we going to do about it? It was a decision to adapt into a completely new vertical. And we said all of these schools need help. So within a couple of weeks of hustling and trying to find decision makers within New York City, where I currently live, just for the rest of the month, and then moving on to other places, I got an interview with the lead department head of New York City schools around technology. He said, could you do 20 to 30 virtual graduations? I said, what is in my head, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But what is a virtual graduation? We never had a need for this, but I said yes anyway. And I've learned this, and it's probably one of the best secrets to continuing to rise, and that is resourcefulness. Who do I know that can help? Was going to be what we're going to figure out. So 2020, instead of 20 to 30 graduations, we did 65 in 2021. The new unknown was needing to do 75 virtual and the new 35 live stream outside, without power, without internet. Just continues to throw these new unknown scenarios. And so I'm gonna show you what I call the mindset secrets and how you could apply them into goals or dreams that you're working towards. First, a quote that I couldn't agree more with. We suffer more often in our imagination than in reality. Secret number 1, change the relationship you have with your butterflies. Butterflies, also known as anxiety, also known as overwhelm, also known as stress. I'll never forget Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, by the way. Kobe Bryant said, I used to ignore the emotions inside of me. I used to try to push them to the side and continue through playing my game. But it wasn't until I acknowledged them, I felt them, accepted them, saying that I see you, I feel you, that he was able to confidently move forward and become used to those emotions. So change the relationships with what you have inside of you. This was a big shift for me. Oh my goodness, this feeling inside of me is going to bring me back to comfort. Nope, I'm going to move forward and treat it as what growth feels like. Secret number 2, coach yourself in the moment. As I alluded to earlier, overwhelm is mostly self-induced. Oh my goodness, how are we going to do 104 events in 4 weeks? This is so much. That was all in my own imagination. How can I be resourceful? How can I think through bringing it to life, making it possible? And now I almost laugh at overwhelm. So I'll coach myself in the moment. I'll imagine a miniature Daniel up here above my shoulder. This is a true story. I do this all the time. And that Daniel is coaching me. Daniel, do you need to be anxious or overwhelmed right now? Or is it just something new or unfamiliar? And it's just your body trying to bring you back to comfort. Resourcefulness solves all problems. It's such a big aha moment for me. Your genius network can help you solve your problems. Secret number 3, sometimes you need someone to believe in you for you to believe in yourself. Now, I want you to recall the goal or dream that I told you to think about in the beginning. Do you feel any different about it now? Now, here's how you use secret number 1. Change the relationship you have with the butterflies and remind yourself that those emotions are what growth feels like. Resourcefulness, or who not how, allows you to skip overwhelm. Ask yourself, who's the master of this domain that can help me? Using secret number 2, when the go back to safety emotions come around, stop, coach yourself. You say, self, are you really overwhelmed? Are these emotions only happening because I've never been here before? I got this. It's new territory, but I'm going to do it anyway. Using secret number 3, if someone who told me that I'm ready changed my belief in the matter of 1 second, I'm here to tell you, you're ready. The 3 secrets are: change the relationship you have with your butterflies, coach yourself in the moment. Sometimes you need someone to believe in you for you to believe in yourself, and that someone can change your life. And that someone can change your life. I'm here to be that someone for you. You are ready. You got this.
Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.